And we're back from the awesome event, the Social Media Week in Rome, where I've been staying for about 2 days now, and a lot more knowledge, a lot more insights to share with you again. It's a Saturday, it's a great sunny day in the beautiful capital of Italy, and I'm staying here to learn. Well, it's in Italian, but you will figure it out. How to use social media for public administration. You might say, I might be doing something better with my life in this beautiful town, in this beautiful day, in a hot summer day, but no. What I care about is to bring European communicators together and to share knowledge that you can then spread within your social network on how to get citizens closer to institutions. And that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about today with these two beautiful people. You would like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Alessio. I'm a communication consultant. Hi, I'm Alessio Bau. I am a communication consultant. I live and work in Milan.
Hi, I'm Paola. I'm a communication consultant too. I was born in Milan. Now I'm not living in Milan. I'm living all around Italy because I'm working for the national broadcaster television of Italy, and I'm doing digital training for journalists all over Italy, so I'm still around.
But in the previous 5 years, we have worked for the City Hall of Milan, and we were the first social media team there. So we had many great and interesting experiences, and we collected all these experiences that we had in this book that we were just presenting this morning in Rome.
So during your intervention, you were explaining a number of key aspects that an institution and administration must keep in mind and implement every day in order to get closer to the citizens and basically make them understand that you are there for them. What were these key aspects?
Okay, first of all, these key aspects had to do with communication strategy. Anytime you start a relation with someone using social media, if you're a brand, or if you're a public administration, or if you're a museum or anything, you have to be clear about what you want to do. What we wanted to do was trying to re-establish a good relationship with the people. The theme of this social media week is closer, which is exactly what we try to do. And we try to do it through information, through conversation, and through the assistance of the persons, of the help, the caring of the citizens, through their engagement, their involvement. And maybe we can tell you something about.
Go ahead. I mean, I loved your presentation, so.
Information.
So yeah, the big question for us has always been, what do the citizens expect from us as a public administration? So the first thing is to inform. So inform, of course, we are surrounded by many information. What an administration can do is try to talk to its own community, and trying to talk about also the little things that a local community is interested into. Very important thing is to listen to the community that you built on during your work on social media, and try to use formats that are that people are used to using social media. We are using social media to connect with friends, with colleagues, with relatives. So we are very aware that we are talking to friends when we are on social. So how can an administration be a friend? For example, using an informal tone. So trying to be different from what people expect you to be. To try to be a content creator of the many things that the administration does. And in Milan, there is I think the City Hall, how many people work for the City Hall? 15,000. So many people working on many aspects of the city, and probably we know, I don't know, 2 or 3 things about a City Hall, how the City Hall work. Instead, there are many stories that can be told, many people that can be showed. So it's important to dig into the administration, open it, and find the best stories, the best practices, the examples of the everyday work that an administration does. And this is a way to maybe talk even about the little things, but the things that make a difference for the people in their everyday life, in their street, in the square where they bring their children. So inform using new formats, but also being able to try to change what the news is for a citizen. The traditional media has its own schedule every day. You can be your own magazine if you want with these tools, and try to tell more stories, different stories that can give more angles on how the city work, basically. And there is the conversation.
Yes, because we it's very important to inform people. In a democracy, it means you give the information, you give the correct information. You do not try to change their minds about something, but you try to give them all facts they need to make up their mind and decide what they think then, or what they vote, and so on. But it's very important to listen to them too, and it's very important because we are on social media. It's a thing called social media, not just media. It's very important to listen to their opinions. To listen to them in order to understand what their perception of the administration is and what their perception of the single actions of the administration are. Because sometimes we discover they didn't understand something. It was too complicated. The way it was explained was too complicated, or the words were too. We used too many legal terms or stuff, and people just didn't understand. So you have the opportunity of talking to them and exchanges views with them. Then you discover what is most important to them, and how you have a feedback. You have a live feedback of everything your administration does. And by the way, it's always also just ethically correct to listen to people. You know, Rousseau said we listen to what people say and want just once in 5 years, usually when they vote, and then we forget about democracy. Social media are a very interesting way of building the democracy every single day.
I still agree, but you know, there is a challenge. Alessio, can you show your T-shirt?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the Saturday T-shirt.
The problem is that a lot of people, and you have shown some examples, think that this T-shirt, to-do list nothing, actually represents the way most big administrations work. I work for the European Parliament, and I have to be challenged with this thought every day. So. And you talked about informing people about the activities of your municipality. And for instance, what I found fascinating is that you showed, for instance, the activity of cleaning the city. So the way actually there are people that every day are cleaning the city while we don't see them. The reason why the city of Milan or whichever city is clean is because there are people behind that. Now, how do you work to raise awareness that it's not to-do list nothing, but it is to-do list a lot of things that you might not see at first, sure. But it's actions that are required, that are necessary, that are absolutely key to maintain a huge city like Milan. How do you inform people about what's going on behind the scenes?
You just do that every day, because the very point is something Alessio was mentioning before, is that you have your own personal media when you work on Facebook, on Twitter, and so on. There is no newspaper, there's no TV in the world. They have closed formats, in terms of paper, of minutes, if you're talking about news on television or on radio. They have no time and no interest in showing you who cleans the city. But the guy who cleans the city actually changes your life.
By the way, actually, Paola, one of the people watching the video is Alex Godson, who is a communication officer for Eurocities.
Okay.
You know Eurocities,
sure?
So it's a consortium of all the big municipalities in Europe. So I'm sure he's interested to know about your experience. So please go on. So we get people also that are pretty much in your domain.
Great. There are things you give for granted. that are really life-changing. I mean, what if you woke up in a city that's not tended in any way? That's important, but nobody shows that to you. It's normal, it's usual that the negative aspects of public administration, as of anything else, they shout louder than anything else. No, if you have to talk about something,
if things go wrong.
Problems.
Nobody would compliment you.
Right.
If, the streets are clean, that's great. I'm going
sure.
to share this
but
on
they,
social media.
but they
but
will,
the one time,
they will notice if they are not
the one
clean.
time things don't
But
work.
showing people who do it is a way of letting people know their city better.
Yeah, I think you need a long-term plan. Sometimes crises like this one that you were saying arrive out of the blue, and it's not easy.
About the flooding of
Yeah,
an
we
urban
discussed
river,
about exactly about the flooding.
which created discomfort and other type of structural problems.
It's true that's why you need a long-term plan. That means that you need to invest in some resources, really working every day to find the good stories to tell, how to tell them, how to promote them, okay? And in case of big crisis like the floods, you need to have a proper schedule to be able to confront with this situation where the citizens demand answers very quickly in a sometimes tragic environment. So yeah, I think to answer your question, how can you have people happy about people cleaning the streets and sharing the post and saying, I think it's a long-term process. So at the start it wasn't easy even for us, but we at first tried to be credible, tried to be responsive, and we let the people know that they were listened. After that, we started also experimenting with more informal tone, with different stories to tell. Maybe the first day we wouldn't tell about the story of the person cleaning the street, but after a few months, you have gained some trust, which is, I think, one of the main key point of this era, and you can also propose different things and rebuild the relationship with the citizen because they see you every day. They see that you reply to them. They see that you are saying common sense things, and you can also be more courageous and show also different angles on public administration's life.
And then where do we move forward from that? I mean, we're talking about informing, we're talking about engagement with citizens. What are the other challenges that you have to face in your everyday and also long-term work? So you have micro challenges, which is replying every day to comments and informing people. But then you have macro challenges, which I think is something that the city of Milan managed very well to do, is to create a community that is both proud and active in being part of the community itself. And I think that the city of Milan is one of the maximum expression of this trend. How do you do that? How do you keep this macro, so the creation of a community, a micro dimension, replying to comments every day?
Okay, I think one key word is sustainability in terms of human resources. So we were 3 people.
It's too little. It's
definitely too little. For example, I know that the City of London is investing in a 10 people team at the moment. They are looking to become a 10 people team. And I think that's a fair, okay, London is way bigger than Milan, but still, 10 people, it's a fair number compared to 3, I think. So there is one sustainability in terms of people, one sustainability in terms of course, economic investment. So not everyone can do everything. So you need to invest in, I don't know, a designer, a video maker, so people that can help you doing your social media manager job, because it's a lot, even if it doesn't seem so, it's a lot. And then there is a sustainability in terms of mechanisms in the public administration machine. So you need to invest on internal trainings to make people understand what they are going to face to with social media, and that it's an opportunity, not just something that you need to confront with because you can't do anything else. It's an opportunity. So there are three levels of sustainability: human resources, economic sustainability, and then internal resources sustainability. You need to know that the mechanisms with social media will change, and but that can be an opportunity, not just a new thing to do to add on the to-do list.
Paola, anything to add to that?
Yeah.
Okay. Actually,
So
I'm going to give you
to
a
this
big
question. Okay.
I want to give you the big question because you mentioned Rousseau, so you definitely have a knowledge of political philosophy, and I'm going to challenge you on that.
My fault.
A lesson that I should bring back to Brussels. You know, if, of course, it is, I wouldn't say easier, but less challenging to communicate on a community that has some boundaries geographically, so the city of Milan. But how do I bring this lesson at a very macro supranational level? Can I create, is it possible to create a European community online?
I hope so. I really hope so. I think since we are playing with quotes, do you remember a movie by Wim Wenders where he was in Lisbon? He was asked, where do you come from? What are you? And he doesn't answer, I'm German, but he answers, I'm European. That would be great. We are not at that point in this moment. Right now, there are a lot of anti-European stances in Europe and outside Europe in the citizens. I think that the idea, we were talking about territory earlier, it means you have to know who your community is. But it's not just a question of territory, it's a question of identity. Building on a community in Milan meant that I'm from Milan, Alessio has been living in Milan for many, many years. We know how Milan works, how the people from Milan, they were a community before we opened,
social.
Before social, way before social. What we did, the way we built on that community was continuing to tell them that they were a community before. And in different ways, with the formats Alessio mentioned and so on. But what you can learn from that was very tied to the territory, but not just to the place where you are, but to the identity. So basically, I think you have to look for what people have in common and not what divides them. It will be certainly different in Europe, but what do we have in common? History, values, democracy, history, peace since Europe existed, not before. We were at war very often, and the ones who were not under the umbrella of the European Union have been at war in the 90s too.
Exactly.
Eastern Europe and so on. We very often forget that, and or we don't want to think about that. That's another point of view. But if you have to know the identity, you have to know what people. There are people, if it's the 1.5 million people in Milan, or the many million people in Italy, or the many million people in Europe, you have to define what they have in common and build on that, on the positive, not on the negative.
May I add something?
Of course, go ahead.
Totally agree, of course. It's an enormous challenge. Thinking about some, everyday, day by day concrete actions, I will think about trying to empower the citizen of Europe to do something together online. So give them tools to be empowered to do things, which can even be share a post. But if you are able to touch the heart of the person, he's gonna share it with his friends or her friends. And so empower the people, give them tools. On the other side, as an institution, being very useful, so give content that is useful for the people. It can be information, it can be an opportunity. So try to leverage on the fact that the European Union is a huge opportunity for the people, for young people, but not only young people. So expand on that, on the fact that it's an opportunity and it's useful. Because if you touch the concrete aspect of everyday life, you will, I think, have a good feedback from the people. And thinking about internal strategies, I think having a localized person that can help you understand the local culture, it's crucial. because as you say, we have values in common, but we also have specific differences, identities, and if you can build on that, you will be more successful in promoting the content. So, yeah.
Alessio and Paola, thank you so much. This was a pretty enlightening live, I have to say. One of the best I've ever done. And it's exactly the kind of lessons I want to bring back up to Brussels and Strasbourg, where I came directly from on Thursday. And I think I have nothing to say. I think I agree with all your points. And I think something that can bring us together is the exchange. The fact that more European communicators need to leave Brussels and they need to go to Rome, to Helsinki, to Tallinn, to Lisbon, and learn from these experiences from local communities. Because I think that the gap in communication that the European Union has within its citizens is because of the lack of knowledge, not of technical tools, but of realities. Europe, and I'm the strongest Europeanist you will ever find, is losing touch with realities in its communities. So I believe that this kind of exchange, like the Social Media Week, it can be anything else. It doesn't need to be always about social media. It can be a book fair. It can be a fair of agriculture. It can be a food fair. But I think that more staff, so more people working for the institutions in the European Union, need to go back more often, travel more often to the member states and learn these practices and these common values that Paola was mentioning before. See you tomorrow for the next live, unfortunately not from Rome, or maybe from the airport. And see you back in Brussels on Monday again. Stay tuned.